Welcome to Vegan 911. So today I am doing a little bit of a new segment. I was really interested in health during the time of COVID-19. And I realized that a lot of people that were being affected by COVID-19 in a very horrible way had diabetes. And I know that diabetes is very prevalent in communities of people of color. So I had an idea to interview some of my doctor friends and get their opinion on being plant-based, being vegan, health, and, you know, this craziness surrounding COVID. So today I have Dr. Renee Cowan. She is an OBGYN, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her plant-based life. So here she is.
Hello.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Renee Cowan, as you said. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in New York, raised in Atlanta, did my training in the Northeast in upstate New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and now I am in fellowship in New York City at a cancer hospital, focusing on gynecological cancers. And then as far as my journey to being plant-based, it all started with my husband, who a few years, when we were engaged, came home one day after we'd been studying the book of Daniel in the Bible. And he decided that, we weren't created to eat meat and that we shouldn't eat it anymore. And he just said, cold turkey, I'm not going to do it anymore. To which I responded that he was ruining my life and we had already paid so much money for the wedding. I didn't really know what we were going to do. And, we worked it out, and I eventually got on board and turned to Pinterest first, interestingly enough, and started cooking more plant-based meals and excluding more meat. And at that time, we were still eating fish and dairy. But I never really ate a lot of dairy to begin with. And then that was in January of 2014. We got married in May of 2014. And then by August of 2014, we had gone to a few health seminars and, really started delving into the idea of eating less meat more and more and more. And so by August of 2014, we had cut out the fish and dairy.
That's amazing.
Well, marriage is a lot of give and take and compromise. And at that time we were much younger. And I decided to hear him out. He wanted to do better for himself and for us. And he had biblical, spiritual reasons and then had science to back him up. And as we started watching the documentaries on Netflix, reading the papers, I'm a scientist, quote unquote, so I understand data, I understand numbers, and it's undeniable that plant-based diets are better for you. And the Bible is also pretty clear that we weren't necessarily we created to eat meat. So with those arguments behind, I just kind of got on board, and then it became fun. It became a journey. And I also feel like we're not very strict. I'm not held by any rules or laws. If I want ice cream, I eat ice cream. He eats vegan ice cream, I eat Haagen-Dazs. It's fair, it's fine. And and the benefits that we began to see as we transitioned were clear. He transitioned cold turkey. That's his personality. January, he was done. For me, it took me a year and a half. I went through a semi-plant-based pregnancy, and then when we moved to New York, up here it was significantly easier because there's just so many more options for people who want to partake in alternative eating styles. So once I got here, it was easier. And then over time, it's just become second nature. It's just the way that we are. It's just how we live.
You have children?
I do. I have two.
So are they eating plant-based as well?
My children do eat plant-based. They actually probably eat more plant-based than we do because they've never had any meat, or they've really had very minimal animal products. When we go on vacation, sometimes they'll have a little bit of fish because we'll go to the islands and fish is synonymous with vegetarianism there. They've really had no animal products. If they get cake, I don't like fight about there being eggs in the cake. I'm like I said, I'm not hardcore. But I had plant-based pregnancies. I have plant-based babies. They are growing well. Neither one of them were anemic. They never required any iron, any injections. They don't get sick. They, you know, they're on their growth charts. My son is in the 75th percentile. My daughter is in the upper 50s. So they're solid.
So you had mentioned going to seminars when you were transitioning. Can you describe a little bit about how you found out about these seminars, how they were they helpful?
We were both raised in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Adventist Church has a strong health prophecy or health message as a part of their core doctrine. And so growing up, the church itself, usually there's no meat on the campus of those churches or those institutions. And so they will often have seminars or revivals or speaking events with people to come and talk about following a plant-based diet or the health message in general. And so that August of 2014, we went to a seminar at that point that was led by someone. And the first week was about the health message and being plant-based and ways to transition. And then the second week was about like the book of Revelation. And then I believe I went to another one here in New York that was also sponsored by a City Adventist church. So, but also here in New York, Montefiore has a pretty strong plant-based program, and their hospital and their cardiologists and their physicians are always like hosting events and doing things. And then once you start getting into that, like that plant-based community, once you start following people on Instagram or on social media and watching YouTube videos, you just branch out and realize that there's a lot of events and a lot of places that you can go to get more information.
Right, exactly. So I wanted to know, what are the health benefits, like your personal health benefits that you've gained by being plant-based?
So my number one personal health benefit, and this might be a little TMI, but I just think the effect that plant-based diets have on your GI tract, your gastrointestinal system, people struggle with constipation. People struggle with not getting enough fiber in their systems, not going regularly. And when you don't go regularly, you feel full, you feel bloated, and that gross feeling after you eat. I don't feel any of those things anymore. Like my gut is always happy. There was a period during pregnancy where there was some constipation, and every now and then if I don't drink enough water, then fine. But like, people don't talk about poop enough. I work in the surgical field. All we do is talk about poop. Every day I ask my patients, did you pass gas? Did you poop? Did you pass gas? Did you poop? So I love talking about poop. Plant-based diet, it just solves all of those constipation issues. It solves the fiber issues. The vast majority of Americans are fiber deficient. One thing that people often worry about when they consider transitioning to being plant-based, they're like, oh, where are you going to get enough protein? I'm not worried about my protein. You should be worried about your fiber. And that not getting enough fiber in your diet has a lot to do with some of the health problems that we have. So by increasing my fiber intake and increasing my vegetable intake, I have noticed a huge difference in just the way that my GI tract works. And that's been the biggest blessing. So a lot of people say they have more energy. I think my husband really feels like he has more energy. Our skin and it's just a full, like, top to bottom, everything is better.
That sounds excellent. Tell us a little bit about what you feel is the hardest part about maintaining a plant-based diet.
The hardest part about maintaining a plant-based diet is when you're working, honestly. At home, it's not difficult. Once you set up your pantry, once you make the transition and you understand what you like, what you eat, and what works for you and your family, and you fill your pantry with your staples and you determine what your staples are, you're good for at home. I think at work is where it becomes difficult, where if you haven't packed your lunch, if you haven't done your meal prepping, I don't do meal prepping, it's too much for me. If you don't bring your lunch, then you're kind of at the mercy of what's around you. Now I'm in the city, I have a lot of options, but if I can't leave the hospital, it's just vegetarian chili or French fries. I mean, honestly, I eat French fries for lunch a lot. And at that point, you're like, well, maybe a piece of baked salmon would be better. But, you're really kind of at the mercy of where you are in your work schedule. And so I think that's the most difficult part. As eating out regularly is fine, like particularly in big cities. When we go visit smaller cities or places where they don't have as diverse food options, um, it requires a little bit of creativity and a little bit of thought. But once you're okay with eating an assortment of sides, you're usually fine, because you can usually find rice, beans, and greens anywhere. And that's really the basis for any good plant-based meal is a carb of some sort, carb or starch, a protein, which for me is often a legume. Obviously, if you're into tofu and alternatives, you can do that, then that's fine. And then a vegetable, a green. And so for me, it's like meat, beans, greens, and carb.
Yes, exactly. So you had mentioned before, it's very important to get a lot of fiber in your diet. And a lot of people get concerned, like, oh, where am I going to get my protein? Also, I think a lot of people, when they are considering like vegan or plant-based diets, they're concerned about the amount of carbs that they're going to consume. And they're concerned that they're going to like gain weight. In your personal experience, do you exercise a lot? Have you lost weight on being plant-based?
I I have been plant-based for 6 years. I have been pregnant maybe 2 or 3 out of those years. And so obviously my the whatever has happened, and I'm small by nature. I'm genetically not a big person. So you have to figure out what works for you. There are people who, when they eat a lot of carbs, they do seem to blow up, and they would be tempted to follow that ketogenic lifestyle. And I'm not gonna bash ketogenic or whatever it is. I'm not here to bash that or do anything, but that's not a lifestyle. That's a quick fix for a weight issue. But when you talk about maintaining a lifestyle and maintaining a state of health, then you're going to want fruits and vegetables. And I'm anti anybody who's anti carbs. Like, carbs are good. Carbs are life. They come from the earth, and I will eat carbs all day, every day. I'm a bread, rice, pasta, potatoes girl. And so I'm 100% biased when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love carbs, so I will never get rid of carbs from my diet.
No, no. I gave up carbs like for a month for my wedding, and it was like the worst decision ever. I was so grumpy. I was so mean. I'm like, let's just give me bread. Just give me bread. Keep your goat, keep your steak. Just give me some bread. I'll be fine.
Bread is life.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. Like, I feel like Jesus said that somewhere in the Bible. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in there.
I think I want to get more into your relationship with your patients, and if you have ever recommended a plant-based diet for your patients because of health, and what has their response been?
Okay, as far as my patients are, so because I'm still in training, and I feel as though I am often at the mercy of those who I work for and work under. I Last year I worked with a physician, medical oncologist who was following a more plant-based diet himself, and he was more open to having us suggest that for his patients. And so that I feel like if I'm in encouraging company, then I tend to encourage a lot more. If I'm in company that's not so encouraging, then I tend to take a step back and be quiet. Patients do often ask, what should they eat? I spend a lot of time with patients in their post-surgical periods. And at that point, I want you to eat whatever you want to eat. And, you know, I'm spending a lot of time with cancer patients or patients who are having a hard time gaining weight. And so in those stages of someone's life, I'm just like, eat whatever makes you feel good. I'm not going to stress you out about your food right now. When I spend time talking to patients in the, like before that, when they're healthy, that's when I'm like, eat more plants. And I think that that is the focus that now as a trainee that I push more than anything is eat more plants. Michael Pollan did a PBS special, and he ended the special with eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. And that's essentially what I tell my patients. You want to avoid things that are in boxes, in cans, you want things from the periphery of the grocery stores. You want things that grow from the earth. I'm not going to be the one to bash anybody and be like, don't eat meat, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's your business if you want to eat a little piece here and there, if you want to take time to transition. But the more plants you eat, the fuller you get and the less meat you need to eat. And so I think that by pushing plants is better, because then people don't feel as restricted and you don't get so focused on what you can't eat. You know, since transitioning, I've started eating things that I would not eat normally. Like, we eat okra. We eat so much okra. I never ate okra before I became plant-based. Like, Brussels sprouts, I liked Brussels sprouts, but I love Brussels sprouts. My kids love Brussels sprouts. They ask for Brussels sprouts. They ask for okra. Like, we eat a plethora. We just have so many more options. And I think that was the biggest thing that my husband said when we finally made this switch. He was like, before we used to eat the same thing every week, and now our diets are so much more diverse. And so when I talk to my patients, it's really just about eating more plants. Explore the grocery store, see what's on sale, you know, think about joining a CSA or community supported agriculture or a produce delivery system, and, you know, let people send you produce and you try those things. And so by encouraging them to take the small steps of just eating more and more plants, you can decrease some of the less healthy options.
Exactly. Are there any vegan or plant-based products that you promote to your patients?
There are no vegan or plant-based products that I promote to my patients. I really just want them to eat fruits and vegetables and to eat more things that are whole foods. I do promote like delivery services and things like that, or supporting like your local farmers. I personally have my produce delivered by a company called Misfits Produce. Misfits Market, maybe is what they're called. I do that here in New York. I used to pick up from a local CSA, like they bring their produce down from the various farms in the area, and I used to pick it up, but that became in the opposite direction of my house and just became easier to have it delivered. In DC, I was a part of a CSA and had my produce delivered every week. If you have time to go to the farmer's market, like those are the things that I promote. Go to the farmer's market, get things delivered, try things that are new, eat things that are lots of colors. If people ask me personally, there are, you know, I love hot dogs. I have a weakness for hot dogs. That was something I used to eat when I ate meat. We used to eat so many hot dogs, but hot dogs are obviously like trash food. Like, nobody should really eat them. So I replaced that with like the Beyond sausage because it tastes like hot dogs. The other ones don't really taste like real hot dogs to me. They taste like, you know, vegetarian hot dogs. So since hot dogs are processed anyway, I feel like you should be able to process something else to make it taste like whatever a processed product. So that's one of the things that I eat. But other than that, I don't do a lot of promoting of products. But if people are super connected to something and they're like, oh, I just can't do without eggs, and be like, oh, well, you know, just egg tastes almost kind of like eggs, or mayonnaise, just mayo. There's no difference between like veganese and mayonnaise, or the Sir Kensington's vegan mayonnaise and regular mayonnaise. I don't think there's a difference. Or Earth Balance butter, like those little things when people just need that little tip of like, well, what do I use instead of using this? Then I might give them a little tip. But otherwise, I'm like, olive oil, salt, pepper, roast those veggies, 400 degrees, 20 to 30 minutes. Go. And also, I'm seeing that there are a lot more Black farmers. And as we are seeking to support people, like support our own, and like, let's get into supporting our Black farmers. Let's watch their YouTube channels. Let's follow their instructions on how to make these raised beds. Let's buy seeds from them. Let's start growing in our own backyards on our own little plots. That guy in LA, what is he? The gangster gardener or something like that. I don't know. He's about to have a master class, so he's about to like get big. But supporting our own people, because and making it stop. We should stop making it seem like this is a white thing, because it's not a white thing. It's not. It's an everybody thing. Everybody needs to eat better, and there are plenty of people of color who are eating well, who are growing food, who are growing good food. So those are the things that I promote.
Exactly, exactly. Everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs access to food. So I totally get where you're coming from. Definitely. Um, let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit about your thoughts on COVID-19 and just how, this virus is just ravaging communities of color. What's your take on this? Do you think that incorporating a plant-based diet into people's lives would definitely help people recover from this disease better?
I think that a lot of the data is showing that obesity is like a lot. It's this, your body is in this inflammatory state all the time, and your body being in this pro-inflammatory state makes it difficult for you to heal from a disease or a virus that causes more inflammation. And our plant-based diets do help your body get out of that inflammatory state, and you are less likely to be obese. You're less likely to have diabetes. You're less likely to have heart disease. COVID-19 is tearing people down who are obese, have diabetes, have heart disease. Yeah, the data shows it's not good for people who have cancer either. But when you have these lifestyle diseases, it's really tearing them apart. And so it's drastically affecting our community, not only because we suffer at a greater rates from these lifestyle diseases, but we also live in tighter communities, have less access to care in general, have decreased ability to, I don't know, let me just go to my house out in the country where I can be alone and socially distance over there. That we don't live that life, and we don't have those same privileges. And so it's a multifaceted issue why our communities would be disproportionately affected. Having a plant-based diet going to solve systemic and institutional racism? No, but but it's a start for getting our health in order and taking more control over what we put into our bodies. We don't have to eat the McDonald's and sorry, I don't want to like mention companies or have them like come after me, but we don't need to eat the trash food that is in our communities just because it's there. We should be taking hold of our health and being like, I don't want your trash food. Keep that and take it to your neighborhood. And over here, there's no reason why we can't have Whole Foods in our neighborhoods or organic markets in our neighborhoods. And so I think that it's a whole systemic issue, and being plant-based and supporting plant-based diets and supporting plant-based people and businesses is just a part of it. But, where it's a supply and demand issue, we increase our demand, and then the supply has to increase, because at the end of the day, it's about money. And if these companies see that there's money in this neighborhood to be made, then they will come.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all the points you made. I definitely agree that, this is a multifactorial thing, and, being plant-based is one part of it, but it's definitely an important part to transforming health. What advice would you have for people who are trying to transition to a vegan or plant-based lifestyle?
Always say, when transition, I give the same transition advice all the time. If you're a cold turkey person, then go cold turkey. There are people who are like that. That's what they do. That's their personalities, right? They go hard. There are those people who will just be dropping and they'll be like, this is it, I'm done. Most of us aren't like that. Lots of us need transitioning time. And I think it's the easiest thing to do, or the best thing to do, is to cook out whatever's in your house, and then just don't buy anymore. If you don't bring it into your house and the majority of what you eat is from your house, you've already cut your animal product intake in half just by not having it in your house. Then after you're getting a whole, and then you also have to educate yourself on how to cook the fruits and vegetables and the plant products that you maybe aren't used to cooking. And so that's how I think is the best way to start, is just by taking it out of your house. And then I also find that in our millennial age, where social media and like we're bombarded by all these visions, you can control what you see. You can control your feed. You start following those plant-based YouTubers, Instagram or social media people. If you see Brussels sprouts every 3, shots, you might be like, I think I want some Brussels sprouts today. Control your intake, and you take control of your mind. And so that is, I think, the easiest way to start, is to stop buying it, control what's in your house. Then when you go out to eat, maybe you might go have a burger, maybe you might go have a steak, and slowly but surely you'll get you will fiend for it less. And even if you don't, by being just plant-based at home, that's still more than half the battle. Even if you continue to go out for fried chicken, that's you. But at home, you're going to have your kale, you're going to have your green smoothie, you'll have your fresh squeezed juice, you have all your fruits, and if you have a chance to let your home be your haven.
Exactly. That's great advice for transitioners. So thank you for that. And my last question. Anything that you feel like you need to add? Anything you feel like we really, really need to know about you or being plant-based?
About being plant-based, I think it's worth a shot. Give it a couple weeks, and you can do more than a couple weeks. Give yourself a month or two. And now while we're quarantining, now while everybody is like baking bread at home and trying all these new things and trying all these new recipes, now is an amazing time. It's a great time to try something new, and might surprise yourself that you like it. You can't, I don't want to tell you that that it's just like this seamless, smooth transition. You have to figure out how your body reacts to certain things. Like, do these beans give you gas, or whatever have you? But there is a wealth of information. There's a wealth of data out there that shows that these diets are better for our bodies. Take the time while we're home and, Netflix chilling and binging, chilling, whatever it is that we're doing on Netflix. There are so many documentaries: Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, What the Health, like Game Changers. That last one, that's a good one. Like, watch them all, binge watch them all. And if you start getting on your plant-based journey and you feel like you're struggling, watch it again, because they're often that little push as to why am I doing this, because the stories, they make these compelling arguments. And we weren't designed to eat meat. Our bodies weren't designed. Yes, God gave it to us after the flood, and there are clean meats and unclean meats or whatever. But honestly, your body will do so much better if you just eat more fruits and vegetables, eat more plants, try new things, try to cook them different ways, season them up the way that you season up your meat. It doesn't have to be bland. It doesn't have to be pasty. Go to a restaurant. Chipotle is a great place to just eat a bowl of rice, beans, carbs. You won't miss the chicken. You won't miss the meat. So, at least not after a while.
Definitely. So thank you, Dr. Cowan. That was great advice. I'm hoping that everybody who's watching will take your advice seriously and will try to transition to being plant-based or vegan. Thank you so much for being with us today and all of your words of wisdom. This was very, very, very informative and very, very helpful.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you for Dr. Cowan again for joining us, taking time out of her busy schedule to tell us all about being plant-based and telling us all about her wonderful self. So if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so we can make more videos like this. Giving your thumbs up and your likes definitely helps me know what kind of videos to make for the future. If you've been liking all these videos, please, please, please subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you as part of the Vegan 911 family. And definitely check us out on Instagram. Vegan 911 channel is our handle on Instagram. Dr. Cowan, is there a way that people can contact you through social media?
Yes, I am. What am I? Becoming Virtuous on Instagram.
Wonderful. So I'll put it at the bottom. You can follow Dr. Cowan on Instagram at Becoming Virtuous. So thank you guys all for tuning in, and we'll hope to see you next time. And I hope this was very inspirational. Thank you for being here. Bye.